We live in an increasingly Orwellian university. Orwell's books like 1984 and Animal Farm show that words are devoid of meaning. They're picked up, thrown away, used in a different way, and their original idea is dead. Woke is an example. Woke was intended to combat injustice, but it's been turned around by the right as being itself injustice. And what is disgusting is that liberals and the left have not picked up on this. I shall be the last person on earth who will say I am woke and I am proud. Another twisting of vocabulary is a political term, the radical center, often associated with Bill Clinton in the US, Tony Blair in Britain, and Jean Chrétien here in Canada. Radical center. You can be radical, you can be center, but it is absolutely meaningless. What does it mean, radical center? It's a term of the absurd. You can be radical left, you can be radical right. Radical means going to the root. The whole thing about center is that you move slowly on things. Back to the center is another one. Back to the center. But the original definition of left and right was that the left sided with the underdogs and the right wanted to keep things pretty much as they were. That was the original definition. So the center should be in between the two. But, for example, some of the more right-wing liberals, like Bonnie Crombie in Ontario, the mayor, who says we have to move the Liberal Party back to the center, which is another way of saying basically move it to the right. And the wealth gap in Canada, as everywhere in the world, has been growing between very wealthy and the rest of us. So move back to the center. No, it means moving further to the right, because it implies that the position we're in now is moving us to the left. And that is not true. The US, the world's greatest democracy, and even good people like Bernie, everybody refers to the US as a democracy. It's never been a democracy. It was never intended to be by the founding fathers. The most blatant example of this is the Electoral College. Not to diminish Trump's accomplishment in 2016, where he nearly won in popular vote, but Hillary Clinton did have the popular majority by several million. But by the Electoral College, he was put in, and so we say Trump won in 2016. At the same time, we're saying democracy. No, the United States is a constitutional republic that has Bill of Rights. That's not the same thing as democracy. You could give other examples. The U.S. is the only country where people in the nation's capital can't vote. They can vote, but they don't have any representation in the House of Representatives. They don't have their allotted 2 senators. Gerrymandering, because each state can write its own rules of how elections are run. Whoever's in power in particular state, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, can manipulate things so that you put your supporters all over the place narrowly, and you give one district to your opponents where they win big. That's called gerrymandering, and it distorts completely the popular votes. So if I may give an example, the state of Ohio, you take the popular vote, the Republicans, Democrats, and independents. Ohio has 16 representatives. Currently, there are 12 Republicans and 4 Democrats. But if you looked at the actual returns in Ohio for presidential elections, there should be 9 Republicans and 7 Democrats. Finally, the U.S., more than any other so-called democracy, is awash in cash. It's one where elections, to a great extent, can be bought. Not always successfully. Credit Americans that sometimes they will vote for the candidate who is the least well-funded. But this is exceptional. Cancel culture. Everybody says now automatically cancel culture. That's with the left. The left won't permit you to say certain things. That's cancel culture. What about DeSantis in Florida? What about what's going on in Texas, man? What about Trump himself? Going after universities because people may not be citizens, but they still have the right to speak. And he's shutting that off. He's threatening people and actually sometimes carrying it through to deport people who are in the United States who have the right to express their opinion. And look at the banning of books in many states now. And that's all done by the right. That's your real cancel culture. So here are 5 words, and I'm sure I can find more, which are totally shorn of their original meaning. So that today we talk about night is day, day is night. And the absurdity, the emptiness of words is a growing factor in our societies.